Hello and welcome to Piltover, my Arcane-inspired Animal Crossing island. I've been working on this island for a year and a half, and I finally just finished it after all this time, and I can't wait to show it to you. Today, I'll be giving you a tour of the whole island. I'll be telling you all about it. This will be a very in-depth island tour. I'll talk to you about all of the different decisions I made and why I made them, show you all of the areas, and I'd love to hear what you think. Okay, first things first, let me show you the map. I divided my island into two sections. The front half is Piltover and the back half is Zaun. On the front of the island, we have all of the shops, we've got the town hall, pretty much everything is there. The museum, the only thing I put in the back is the campsite. And technically my island has 3 villagers. We've got Jinx, who's my primary character, Jace, Echo. They each have their own little areas that I can't wait to show you. And villager-wise, I did make all of my villagers inspired by different Arcane characters. So we have Shino. Shino is the least specific. She's inspired by this character that we see for one brief moment, and we never get their name, but I like to think of her as being Babette's assistant or just someone who works for Babette. Next up, we have Portia, who is our Caitlin Kiraman. Kyle is Victor. I chose him because he looks so sleepy, so sickly. He just made sense. For Vi, we have Cherry. I don't think I could possibly pick a different villager to be Vi. Cherry is just perfect in every way, and I love that Portia and Cherry are both dogs. They just feel fated to be together. Petrie is Sky, Victor's assistant. Leopold is Heimerdinger. Had to pick him because he's a fluffy little guy. Cobb is Singed. Ione is Mel. Roscoe is Silco. And Tabby is Babette. And those are all my villagers. Now it's finally time for me to show you the island. Yippee! Here's the entrance in all its glory. I didn't want it to feel too dressed up or dressed down. Lots of bushes, flowers, and I decided to show the island off to you on a rainy day. It's evening, it's around 7:30 p.m. Because this is kind of the time of day I envision Piltover. At the very front here, we've got these fountains with benches. I made it match on either side, same with the lampposts. But I wanted it to feel like it's progress day here in Piltover, so things feel a little bit celebratory. I've got lots of stands and shops. And I'll show you the town center first. So over here, we've got a little cafe. Nice place to hang out outside. And right next to it, we have the academy, which is where Jace lives. I'll show it to you in a second. Here's the town center. I like to think the center of Piltover. I imagine this would be a big bustling area. People are treating themselves on Progress Day, getting snacks, hanging out, lounging around. We even have this little free cookie stand. Feel free to grab a cookie while you're here. And now I'll take you on into the academy and show you what we got going on in there. I love decorating in general in Animal Crossing, but I especially love interior decorating, and I think that really comes through with this build. You enter the Piltover Academy and you see all of this. It's inspired by this one ballroom scene, which I'm not sure exactly when this happens, but I imagine this would sort of be the main area of the academy. Their big ballroom. We've got music playing, we've got food to eat, statues, trophies, fine art, a fountain, blue banners for Piltover, and gold accents in the room. It also looks to me in that image like they've got a tile floor and columns, kind of similar to what's going on in here. But yes, I'm very happy with this room. I love the way it came out. And I'll take you to the left first. So this room is a reference to the show. This is where Jace gets locked up for a little bit. I dressed up the room a little bit. In the show, there is not much going on in that room. There's really just 2 beds and that's it. But I gave them a little fireplace, a toilet, you know, as a courtesy, a mop, a sink, a stool to sit on, but that's it. It's still pretty bare bones. I give it a little bit of like a blue-green lighting. I found that a lot of the areas in the show have that sort of like blue light or green light, complemented by warm tones. So I try to capture that throughout this house. Moving on to the back room. Here we have Jace's childhood bedroom, which we never really get to see in full. We get glimpses. Him at his desk by the window. We see his bed and posters up on the walls, but never the full room. So I tried to kind of contextualize what we had and build on it. I imagine it would be full of crafts and projects and books. Maybe a fresh sandwich his mom made him. He's got all his lab tech out, of course. Science posters, animals. He really looks up to Blathers, you know, understandably. So we've got a little picture of him up there. Here's his bed and all of the different notes he's taken beside it. Maybe he took some violin lessons for a few years and decided music wasn't really his thing, but that's okay. His mom would understand. He has passions. But yeah, I really like this room. I think it feels so cozy in here and very indicative of young Jace. Proceeding over to the right wing of the house. In here we have the room that Jace and Victor invented Hex Tech in. I gave it the Starry Skies wall and the cloud flooring with planks on top because I like to imagine this is after they had performed their experiments and they're up floating at the ceiling of the room. It feels very romantic in here, very sweet. And it definitely feels like a tribute to those two characters. Javik forever, this is the Javik room. And I'm really happy with how it came out. It went through a couple different iterations. I tried to keep a normal wall and floor at first, but it just didn't feel like referential enough to that moment in the show. But yeah, here's the final product. Next up, I will show you upstairs. Up here we have the council's chambers. There wasn't that much I could do with this room. If you have seen the council's chambers from Arcane, you'll know that the room is very large and very empty. It was difficult to create that circle-shaped big round table that they had, so I used these reception counters and I think they came out pretty well. I also gave them these big throne chairs. They're a little ornate for what are actually used in the show, but height and size-wise, they were the closest thing I could get. I also added some benches so that, you know, the public can come watch, come enjoy the meetings. Big stained glass windows. And yeah, I think it's pretty accurate. I like how it came out for the most part. The lighting as well, I think, really makes sense with the show. Honestly, I wish there could have been a big spotlight in that room. Kind of in reference to when Jace is being interrogated and the light is just shining down on him. I think that would have been nice. But moving on to the basement. This room is chaos. I imagine that this is the room where Jace and Victor showed off their Hex Tech gadgets to Heimerdinger. They're in the lab. This is the workspace. This big claw arm also feels like a reference to that moment. But I definitely filled this room with a lot of stuff. I think I could have gone a bit more minimal with it, but I kept it as is because it's fun. We got a poster of Sky in here, aka Petrie. Models on the walls, posters, diplomas, things to craft with. We've got giant gears that are helping run the place. It's crazy. And that's the Academy in all its glory. Like I said before, interior spaces are my favorite to decorate, so I'm always really proud of how they come out. But over here, we will continue our outdoor tour. Here we have Jace's workshop. This little smithing area. And then down here, we've got a little stand, a little shop that has books and magazines. Again, probably open for Progress Day. They're showcasing their finest wares. And then over here we have nooks. Down below, we've got a little tiny band area. Just a small addition. I like to think that music would be being played throughout Piltover all the time, but especially on Progress Day. Over to our left, we have this market, where people are selling all kinds of goods. Coffee, cakes, insects, bread, fruit. You want it, they got it. And then down here, we've got a little fancy sitting area for people to chill and drink tea by the market. We come down here, we're heading towards Ione's house. You may recall that Ione is our Mel. So it's her area I decided to make very like dignified, it's classy, it's luxurious. I mean, look at this little sitting area she has, very fancy. She's got her own fountain, but she loves the stars. She loves to paint. She's a little outdoor cooking area. Here's her nice moped. And I'll show you the inside of her house now. Luckily, she's home. This is her place. I'm very happy with how it came out. It's very wealthy, very classy. She has fine art, plants, books. I wanted it to feel cozy, kind of like Mel's apartment in the city. It's an area we don't ever get to see, but I envision it would kind of feel like this. Homey, but at the same time, she doesn't spend too much time here. It's kind of like her office, her meeting room, a place for her to lay down on the couch and just hang out. And look at her right now. She's sitting down to write a letter to Jace. Oh, I wonder what she's saying. Oh my, Ione, you would write that? Really? Are you sure? Anyway, I'll put that out of mind. Continuing on, you walk through this archway, and then we have a little bit of a bath. You know, this is kind of a little additional area that's part of Ione's house. Honestly, she probably has the nicest yard, the nicest setup of anybody on Piltover, which for Mel makes sense. And then over here, we loop around to our museum. We've got a little sightseeing point, place to watch for boats, watch for sky ships. And then here we have our museum, which is overlooking a waterfall and sculpture garden that I'll show you a little bit more of. This is the sculpture garden. And then over to our right, we have the Able sisters. Here we have a stand selling some fine Piltover wares, dresses, suits, shoes, and then in the back, just a fancy little place to hang out, sip some Chardonnay after you shop. And that's most of the main area of Piltover. I'll take you over to the right because we've got a little neighborhood left to see as well. Over this way, this is where I have my town hall, my resident services. It was difficult making Piltover be on the 3rd tier and then making Zaun in the back is on the 1st tier. It was hard to know how to fit in resident services. I was like, it's really too bad I can't raise this up. If I could have, I would have. But instead, I just made matching steps to the ones we have at our front entrance. A cute little pond and waterfall. And it's just set in back here. Which, the building style, to be honest, does suit Piltover, so it doesn't bother me too much. Also, we have Tabby here singing. She's having a great day. I love you, Tabby. Oh, we're so cute! To the right of here, we have our neighborhood. Luckily, we've got a few people who are home right now. First up, we have Portia, aka Caitlin Kierman. This is her house. I like to think she would be, you know, right by the town hall, keeping an eye on things. She's kind of our local cop. And here is our Portia's house. It's supposed to be giving kind of like academic. I tried to make it look a lot like her actual bedroom. So she's got a chessboard, floor pillows. She's got this board that she's working out all her theories on. Her big luxurious bed and lots of windows with greenery. She's got a trophy up on top of her wardrobe, probably from a shooting competition when she was a kid. And that's the place. Up above Portia's house, we have Leopold's house. Leopold is our Heimerdinger. He's got a little tiny library outside his house. You know, he's always trying to encourage more people to read and to study. And he's actually hard at work crafting right now. Usually I have different items over there, but I'll show you the rest of the place. Just ignore him. We've got a little study desk. He has the bookshelf wallpaper just on one wall. Trophies from his very long lifespan. A second desk with papers and books he needs to review. He also has a chessboard of his own and fine art he's collected over the years. He loves KK Slider. Honestly, bit of a man crush, but that's his place. I think it feels cozy, it feels lived in. It feels like the kind of establishment that would belong to somebody who's been alive for over 100 years. He's collected a lot of stuff. I imagine he'd also have a storage unit full of much more than this, but you know, this is kind of the curated collection. And then last but not least in this little neighborhood, we have Petrie's house. Like I mentioned before, Petrie would be our Sky. Imagine she's kind of chaotic, you know, she's busy, she's at the lab a lot of the time, she's got a little bit of trash outside her house. And here I even gave her a little bit of a garden. I think she likes plants, she likes science, she does a little bit of both of those things. And she has this little garden down here too. Also, hello, Kyle, Victor, how are you doing? And then down here we have a little bit of an extension that I imagine was a request that was put in by Portia for Cherry, her girlfriend. She was like, Piltover Council, please can we just build out this neighborhood a little bit so that my girlfriend can have a place to live, you know? She helped save the city, she needs a place to stay. And so they gave her a place right on the fringes of Piltover. You can see Zaun in the background over there. And here's a touch I love on this island. I added specifically the blue smoke from Jinx right there in the back. You could see it right outside of Vi's house. And her place, you know, it's kind of giving bachelor pad. We've got trash, a place to work out, but that's kind of all she needs in her yard. Cherry's house is one of the few areas on the island that I made more of a reference to season 2. This house is inspired by Vi's little shack that we see in season 2 when she's having her crash out moment. We've got dirty dishes, burnt cooking, trash, spray paint, an unmade bed. She of course has to have some cupcakes, you know, a little nod to Caitlin. I couldn't really picture Vi living anywhere else, to be honest, so I decided to just make this for her. I think if she was living somewhere nicer, it would probably just be like, again, very bare bones, plain furnishing, maybe just the way the place came, the way that the council would have given it to her, but instead I gave it a little bit more character. This is where she bathes. She spends a lot of time on her couch, listening to the radio, chilling, working out. I like to think these skateboards, which are like maybe the one nice item she's got in the place, were a gift from Caitlin. But yeah, this is where she spends a lot of her time. I also love that she has an ice cream right now. It's very silly. And that is the majority of Piltover. We still have beaches to look at, so I think I will show you those before we head over to Zaun, just to keep all of Piltover together. And we can keep all of Zaun together. So Piltover has the front half of the island's beaches. I will take you to the right first. So we come over here. We've got some landscaping I did. It was very charming. And then we come onto this little boardwalk I made. Piltover in the show definitely doesn't have any beach areas we see. We see some areas with boats, but that's kind of the most, it's kind of it. So the first thing I gave down here is we've got a little bake shop. Nice place to hang out in the summer. And I put a bunch of lights around because I still wanted it to feel bright and lively at night, even when nobody's hanging out here. Over here we have a fountain and, you know, some shipping containers and boats for goods. It's definitely a port that sees a lot of commerce. Here I have a tiny little plant stand, and then we exit to this back area. You can hang out and play chess by the lighthouse. And the boardwalk continues back here where you can, you know, sit down, enjoy the view of the ocean, lay in the hammock. Or back here we have a little concert area where a live band plays. It's all very charming, very cozy. And again, like if there was a beach in Piltover, I think that this is the vibe that it would have. And then taking us over to the second half of my Piltover beaches, first, we have a bit of an abandoned dock. Maybe these are ships that aren't used as much anymore now that we have the hex gates. Bikes, vines, flowers. I really enjoyed doing the landscaping for the beaches. But here we have a little bit of a continuation of the boardwalk, though I'd say this side is a bit more casual. Not quite as much going on. Place to sit and eat your sandwich. I've got some lampposts along the back. I took away a lot of the seashells that were along the shore. More have washed up. But ideally there wouldn't be any. I just don't really see Piltover as being a place that would have a lot of seashells. And then over here we have the dock. We've got this little painting area in reference to Mel and the spot that she paints in. Also, we've got a present going by overhead. Not very Piltover, but that's okay. And then more of an official dock with a couple more boats. And back here we've got some flowers. And this is a little casual laundry spot. I like to think that maybe this is where the maids come. And then back here, the island starts to transition into Zaun, so that is properly the last bit of Piltover. So now I will take us over to an incredibly important Arcane area. Right over here, we have the bridge. The bridge is super important in Arcane, and I just had to make it on my island. It was like one of the first areas I really terraformed / landscaped. And it took me a while to get it together. I actually have a video that I put up a few weeks ago of me speed building this bridge. And I'm definitely looking forward to putting out some more different speed build videos from this island. I have a lot of footage because I streamed myself making the whole thing. And I'd love to share more of my process, more of, you know, what was going through my head and how I got these results. So stay tuned for more of that. So proceeding across the bridge, we've got these glaring spotlights in our eyes and a no entry sign because at one point in Arcane, people are not allowed to cross the bridge. They are stuck either in Zaun or Piltover. And I wanted to make a little reference to that. Here we have a bit of an abandoned transit station, you know, maybe something that isn't used as much anymore. Now that people in Zaun and Piltover, they don't really get along. They're not so friendly with each other. And the first area I'll show you from Zaun is right over to our right. This is the exterior of Kyle's house, aka Victor. So, you know, it's a place that sees a lot of study. He watches the stars. He also has chaotic papers all over the place. I don't know whose bones those are. He has gears helping power his experiments. He's studying some glowing moss. Oh wait, he has a second skeleton over here. Jeez Louise. Kyle, who you taking out? A workstation. You know, I imagine he's not someone who would spend a ton of time outside, but sometimes you gotta take an experiment outside, you know what I mean? And then over to our left, we have a bit of a hidden area that I added. And this, I imagine, would be Echo's area. This is actually one thing that I made for the island. This is the mural of all of the different characters who were lost, which here's an image of what it actually looks like in the show. So I did my best. It's not exactly accurate, but it sure is silly. And then aside from that, you know, it's a bit of a small area. I didn't want to dedicate too much island space to it, but I imagine this would be Echo's tent. And behind it, we've got the trees. It's sort of the one like foresty area on the island, the one area that feels like bustling with life. And here's the inside of his tent. I have this little pocket watch in reference to him, but not a lot going on. I didn't want to give him a full house. I thought a tent felt a bit more his speed. Moving on to the rest of Zaun. Down here, I'll take us to our left first. This is supposed to be the area where the Eye of Zaun is, where Caitlin and Vi spend some time. I like to think that this windmill is kind of like the Eye of Zaun, but you know, definitely a smaller item. I wish it could have been neon. We've got some tents around, again, in reference to the show. Lots of addicts live in this area. Unhoused people, people who have sort of lost their lives and livelihoods due to Shimmer. And I imagine that in this little witchy hut, we have somebody who works for Babette. Maybe she has, you know, had a little bit of prosperity in the job market and she built a little shack out here. Moving on to the interior, this is Shino's house. And I wanted it to feel very, very sultry. We've got a red phone, we've got a leather couch, fancy dresses. You know, I imagine Shino makes all of her own costumes. It looks luxurious, but she's not rich. You know, she still lives in the slums of Zaun. So she's got dirty dishes, she's got sacks of who knows what. Still a little bit ramshackle, but nice, put together. And we'll head out. Thank you, Shino. Moving on, I will show you the beach, which kind of feels like a continuation of this area. You know, still very slummy. We've got a campfire. This is where people like to come, hang out, vibe, drink, party a little bit on the shores of Zaun. Got a lot of trash around. It's very chaotic. Maybe some construction, an abandoned boat. And this is where we get to about the border with Piltover. Here we switch over and you can see the difference with like the flowers. It's more groomed, more cared for. And back here we have Chaos. This is also another little entrance to Echo's area right up there. Now let me take you over to the Zaun Strip. This is the area I imagine Caitlin and Vi entering when they're coming down into Zaun. There's a lot going on, it's chaotic. We've got food stalls, lots of smells, lots of sights. Right here is where we have Tabby's house. Tabby is our Babette, but unfortunately she's not home right now. Not a ton going on my secret beach. It's mostly trashy. Supplies. And then here I actually created Imagine Dragons themselves. They are a band of gyroids. And I love them so much, actually. Just look at them go. Look at them do their thing. It's like we're really at an Imagine Dragons concert right now. And here I put what's kind of a reference to the fighting pit in season 2. It's not as dark and dank, but a little bit of a callback to that, and we've got more food stalls around it. And then let me see where to take you next. We've got a little bit of a fork in the road here. I will take you right. Here we got more food stalls. You know, you can buy fresh fish, cans. Down here is a tiny little reference to the birthday party at the very end of season 1. It's a bit spooky. We've got cupcakes, we've got balloons. And then right back here, we have Jinx's house. Jinx's house is supposed to be like the last drop, which is the bar in Arcane that Vander / later Silco owns. And that's what the main area here is supposed to be giving. We got the jukebox, we got places to sit, things being eaten, drank. It's casual, it's vibey. And now I will take you into the room to the left first. Here we have Jinx's workshop, which I kind of have manifested on my island in 2 spots. But this is the indoor version. Her actual workshop is kind of in like a tunnel with a turbine actually. So a little bit hard to recreate, but I thought that centering everything around this big gear item would help. We've got her nail polish, her face paint, her tech, everything she's working on. It's all in here. Next, I'll take you into the room in the back. Back here we have the kitchen, which isn't an area we see in the show, so it's not as directly a reference, but kind of just made sense. You've got the last drop, you know, where are people getting their food and drinks from? Well, it's back here in the kitchen. I tried to make it match that same aesthetic, which I think I did a pretty good job on. Again, with the colored lighting, little greens and browns, mixing of cool and warm tones. Next, I'll take you over to the right. This room is supposed to be the kind of like arcade / hideout that they have as kids. This is a reference to the shooting range that we see. And back here is the boxing area that we see Jinx and Vi both use. It's a bit of a chaotic room. This is one I wish could be larger. It's always too bad that you can't size up rooms in your house, but I think it still gets the point across. And next, let's head upstairs. Here we have Silco's office. Intimidating, very large. You know, spots to listen to music, his big desk, a dartboard, places to play games with people. It's a good spot to entertain. You know, it felt wrong to have the last drop without having Silco's office because it's such an important spot. But at the same time, I do have Roscoe on my island and he is my Silco, so his house is also a reference to Silco's office that I think gets the point across a little bit more clearly and effectively. But now we'll go downstairs. And down here we have the childhood bedroom / hangout room that we see in the show. So we've got like the couch and the fireplace. We've got some bunk beds because, you know, Vi, Powder, Milo, and Clagger are all living down in this room. This is kind of like their bunker. I like to think that these are Powder's plushies and playthings. They've got snacks, whoopee cushions because they're playing pranks on each other. It's kind of giving like icky basement core, but at the same time, like they tried to make it as sweet and lively as they possibly could have. And that's Jinx's house. You know, I really liked being able to make Jinx's house a bunch of different references to Jinx and her life, and then making Jace's house the same for him. It was fun to pay tribute to those 2 characters. And then over to the right of Jinx's house, first up here, we have another variation of her hideout, an outdoor version, which takes up a bit more space, which is nice. She's got another lab to work in, music playing. I like this little Caitlyn reference with the cupcake being operated on. And then we have her graffiti all along the beach and a secret spot for all of her treasures. Everything she's managed to collect. And then this is another entrance to it. This is just a bit of a small abandoned beach. And then I added this tiny little forest area just as a filler. But up here, we have Roscoe's house, and like I was saying before, Roscoe is our Silco. So you can see what I did with his office here. Here it is, much more green, which his office generally is, and he has the singular window right behind his office chair in the back. His treasures, his little couch, his snack table. He's got lots of fine art, fine things. It's very fancy, put together. And I also really love his stained glass light up at the top there. He's in his fancy, fluffy red robe right now. Roscoe's another villager that I'm really happy that I picked because I just can't imagine anybody else being Silco. With his red eyes. He's just like so tall and imposing. I think he fits the bill perfectly. So that's that corner of Zaun. We've now seen most of it. I've got a little bit more of it to show you. So we come down this little pathway here, which is honestly, again, one of the areas I'm really proud of. Especially because it's like a curved walkway and I've got all these items. I wanted to kind of distract from these cliffs we have back here, just because any of the plain cliffs and the grass just don't feel very Zaun at all. This is a little factory, I like to think. Maybe that's working towards making shimmer. They've got a bunch of glowing moss. I like to think that maybe this is Singed stand. Also, Singed, such a tough name to say. But over here to our right, we have a little arcade, little outdoor gaming spot. You know, to be honest, this felt like very happy and silly for Zaun. I don't know that it totally fits the vibe, but I liked the neonness of it and did just need another filler area. Also got some trash, you know, a little TV back here, karaoke stand, more construction. And then over to our left, we have Cobb's place. And he's not home right now, but I really like the exterior of his place too. Like I was saying, he's singed. So we've got lots of gears. It's very mechanical, very science-y. Chaos is ensuing. And then over here, we have the little river run area where Victor first meets Singed. He's playing with a little ship he built, which this is a reference to. He was in kind of like a bit of a cave area, so I put this item over here, and then he ends up running into Singed, and they kind of create a lifelong friendship, partnership, something of that sort. Mentorship, maybe. And then, I gotta say, I think that's all of Zaun. I think you may have seen the whole island at this point. So that's Piltover. That is my island. I'm so pleased with it. It's crazy to think that it took me a year and a half to create, but I'm so proud of how it came out, and I feel like I really got to see through my vision. I was so intimidated when I took on this project at the very beginning because I was like, Arcane Island? Like, how do you make Arcane an island? But I like to think I got as close as one could possibly get to such a task, and I'm very proud of myself. Yay! Oh, and before we wrap up, let me show you one more thing about the island. So let's talk about the airport and the flag. It has a green airport, which to be honest, I kind of wish was blue. If I could have picked any color, like I think I would go back in time and choose blue. But I think green, second best color I could have gotten. My town flag is of the Kiraman Key, which is more of a season 2 reference, but I really like it anyway. I tried a few different options and the Kiraman Key just came out the best as a flag design. But yeah, so expect to see honestly more content of this island because I'd love to showcase just a whole bunch of things. One thing I'm planning on doing is making a compilation speed build video where I go in depth on the speed builds of all of the different villager houses I put together, showing off the interiors, why I picked what I picked, every little detail you might be curious about, it'll all be in there, as well as speed building some of my exterior areas, like maybe I'll do my beaches, maybe I'll do the Progress Day town center. I'm also working on a new island, which you can check out on my Twitch channel, where I stream Animal Crossing usually 2 or 3 times a week, and it's inspired by the game Lost Records Bloom and Rage, which is a game I love so much that came out earlier this year, and it's gonna feel really different from this island because it's gonna be kind of like 1980s small town vibes, and I can't wait to get into it and see, first of all, how long that one takes me because this one took me so long. Hoping I'll be a little bit faster at getting through an island for my second one. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in, for listening to my thoughts, for seeing the whole island. And I'll put the DA up on screen now, so you're welcome to check it out yourself if you'd like to. If you do, please let me know what you think. Give me your review, and even if you don't, how did you like this video? Would you have done anything different with this island? Are you into Arcane? Thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day or night, whatever time it is for you, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye!